Well folks, just made the announcements. Should be live. Fingers crossed. This is partly a test and partly a please and thank you for the wait. So many of you know from my Discord channel that I got flying lesson, my first one, and probably my last one for a while, back a few weeks ago when I was on holiday. I wasn't very happy with just one flying low, but I don't have the money for a proper flying lesson, so I went and did one better. That's X-Play and Aladdin. That there is the Aquila A210, which is the nearest stand-in I've got to the A211, and it's exactly what I was getting to fly, and I thought I'd take you for a spin near my hometown. So, let me just establish this. We'll be taking off from weather very similar to how it was for me the day I took off, about the same time, and we'll be taking off around about the same area. So this should go rather nifty, I reckon. General plan will be from here, we'll be travelling north, we'll follow this route up until we hit these mountains. There we'll bear east, we'll follow the coast back down, and then land. Total flight time should be around about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I'm going to have the live stream chat open. And for those of you who want to ask questions, I'll do my best to do that while I'm flying, just obviously not during the takeoff and landing procedures. I'm already happy to tell you, I figured out, I think, how to ramp start this thing, and it didn't take me quite so long because my pilot didn't have to do the walk around. So with that said, we're going to unpause X-Plane, and we're just going to make a quick tweak and adjustment to the barometer there, the altimeter, because unlike everything else, I don't have posh fancy avionics. Let's get this party started. So we've got battery power into the generators. We need the fuel pump to work. And I'm just going to grab the keys, crack the throttle open just a smidge, high RPM, check. Good throttle movement, yep, okay. And clear prop. The pilot had to shout that out before he started the thing, just to make sure some dumbass didn't walk in front of a moving plane that it was very loud. Figure, huh? Close that back up, it gets a bit drafty up in Scotland. And we'll set the magnetos to start. Turn the carburetor here off, don't need that. Oh, and suppose we'll be wanting fuel. Let me just recalibrate track hour here, it's been a bit funny. There we go, we should have fuel moving to the engine now. There we go. I'm a little rusty. Okay, so let's get the avionics turned on. Get the lights on. Don't really need the instrument lights, they weren't on at the time either. We can turn the fuel pump off now because apparently I never saw it on during my flight. Good. Before you wonder why I'm taking off with landing flaps, pilot did. Good enough for me. only thing I don't like about X-Plane is that the track IR measurement is ridiculously long. So these buildings are very, very rough and very, very approximate, but they're actually not terrible. In terms of at least their positioning is right. So I would be approximately chilling out here waiting for my plane. It came out and round, and then proceeded to join the taxiway here. This is taxiway Echo, if memory serves correctly. Now, I could file a flight plan and all that sort of stuff, but we weren't flying IFR at the time either, so there's really no point. What happened next? Oh, because we didn't go anywhere near this fast. We were directed out to taxiway Charlie. And the only thing is that in the weather conditions I've selected, the weather isn't great, so I'm going to burl around. I'm going to take the opposite runway. That's fine though. It's a slightly different departure and approach, but nothing we can't deal with. Taking things a little bit more gently in the interests of safety, for the very simple reason that, well, we had lots of traffic in the area. There was about 4 or 5 aircraft taxiing, moving around, because this is a fairly busy flight instruction airport. Now, for us, we taxied all the way to the bottom of this taxiway, the opposite side. We turned around and we took off this way. We're not going to do that today. Take off. A little bit of throttle, a little bit of rudder. There we go. Yeah, it didn't feel to me like we travelled very far down the runway. Sure enough, we took very quick airborne time. The pilot was far smoother than I am at taking off, as I would think you'd bloody expect. And I have to trim the aircraft, even though for him the aircraft was already trimmed, because, well, he knows what's right for his plane. But, by and by, it's pretty much what happened. Bring flaps up again, because I don't want to break things. Now, because we took off the other way around the last time, I crossed to the opposite side of the Firth of Tay over there before we travelled northbound. But we'll let that slide. Turn us north, continue up to 2,000 feet, which is where we ended up about most of the time. Now, the flight will be rough because, for starters, I'm going to be fighting all the controls myself without another person on the other side helping me. Second of all, the weather situation seems to be a little bit foggier than I remember mine, a little bit more haze. So the real Aquila doesn't really have a lot of trim because it's all done at the factory, it's pre-trimmed. But I was flying around about 80-90 miles an hour, or 80-90 knots rather, so that seems okay so far. So from what I recall, he was giving me a quick run through of how the stick worked, a few movements. Remember, I'm trying his best to keep the manifold pressure around about 12 o'clock, so I'll do the same. And we're leveled off at 2,000 feet. And it was about this point where he quickly checked me over and said, right, okay, are you happy with this? Are you happy with that? Do you know where everything is? Here's the stick. Excuse me. And then he basically said, okay, you have control. And what he wanted me to really do, to be honest, is just practice staying level. And staying on a heading of about north. Thing I have to say a simulator doesn't give you is that sensation of movement. The amount of movement that I felt meant I was able to correct much quicker. I wouldn't find myself moving through as much of the altitude as I do in this. Also, the stick is a lot more sensitive than I'll ever have. You know, just the slightest movement, you could feel the wind biting into the ailerons. So if we look out over there to our left, over the mountain range there, or same mountain range, it's just hills really, we see just in the distance, should see in the distance anyway, power lines leading back to the nearby town of Perth. To the right, that's the town of Dundee, that's my hometown. For those so inclined to be interested in it. And, to be honest, the scenery